Now, Parliament has suspended processes to approve the Public Universities Bill 2020 following a meeting between Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and various education sector stakeholders. It happened this morning. Chairman of the Education Committee, William Kwetu, says copies of the new bill laid in Parliament in November were made available to the stakeholders at the meeting for them to study. He goes on to say that the new bill addresses about 90% of the concerns they had raised. The suspension of work on the bill is to allow time for the stakeholders to now study again the new version of the bill and revert to the committee by Tuesday with additional comments they may have. Mr. Kwetu says work on the bill will not resume until they get feedback from the stakeholders to come through. He, however, insists that the document being debated in Parliament addresses the issues that UTAG and other stakeholders are raising. Joseph Apoku Gakpo is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. He's joining me via Zoom. Hello, Joseph. Well, before we get to Joseph, take a look.
Yes, you are here and you follow with keen interest whatever we do in the chamber. And you know that it is not true that the Public University Bill is passed. Yesterday, what we did was a second reading of the bill. And I would say that the bill, as you know, went through a first presentation to Parliament. That was withdrawn and a new one laid. And so once a new one is laid, we'll have to, of course, the committee will have to consider it and bring a report to the plenary. And so that is exactly what we did yesterday. So the bill is still under consideration. So the new one that has been laid and reported on is available for anybody to have a look at. What UTAG and other stakeholders of academia want to do or are seeking to know is what is in the new one. And that is what we have made available now. And so this morning, we met them, UTAG and other stakeholders, we met them and we gave copies of the new bill to them. In other words, the relayed one to them. They have to study it and bring their comments for consideration. And when we receive their comments, of course, during our second consideration of the committee, all the comments that of course be acceptable to all of us will be incorporated in the bill. So doing a second reading does not mean that we have passed the bill. And we have all agreed to certain conditions that have to be fulfilled before the bill, the Public University Bill, is passed. They have agreed to what we want to do. To be precise, UTAG, National UTAG, and the various universities, and maybe Convocation and other key players of academia were present at a meeting this morning, and they have all received copies of the new bill. And so if they go to consider it, or if they look at it and see that in fact, we met them here some time ago. The first issues that they brought up have been incorporated in this new bill, and we all come to a common ground, then of course the bill will be passed. We are working in faith with them. We don't want to bring any bill or pass any bill that those who are to be affected by the bill will have comments on. So that is the state of the bill now. It is not true that the bill has been passed. You are aware. But your other colleagues outside there who do not understand the process of Parliament will give it a different twist. So when you meet them, let them know that the bill is not passed. It is still under consideration. You know, we do a number of things during the consideration state, including taking comments from the outside public. And that's exactly what we have done. Yesterday, we only laid the second bill, or the relayed bill, to Parliament. And of course, it had to come with a report. And so we are waiting for comments from everybody before consideration will be taken at the plenary of Parliament. So thank you so much.
Chairman, is that to say that the passage or otherwise of this bill is dependent on the input from these stakeholders?
Definitely. Definitely.
No, it is no. Is that what you're telling me?
Look, their inputs, I wouldn't say that all their inputs will be taken. But this bill here has taken into consideration most of the inputs that they made to us the first time the bill was laid in Parliament. And so I would say that this second bill is entirely or somewhat different from what we had first. It has considered a number of things. For instance, if we take the composition of the council, we had initially a 30-member council. Now it is 15. We had nominations, about 8 nominations from government. Now it is reduced to 5. So there are quite a number of things that have been changed based on the inputs they gave us. But they were not sure that these inputs have been incorporated in this one. That is why they are making that noise. And so the new copy has been given to them. They should study it and see whether the inputs they made are incorporated or not. And so the bill will be passed only after we have considered their new inputs when they bring them.
Talking about the government council, you talk about the fact that it's now 15, 5 from government. They still argue.
No, I'm not saying 5 from government. I'm saying the president or the government has 5 nominations.
5 nominations?
Yes.
They still argue that they are really only that will make up 9 out of the 15.
No.
For the other institutional representations.
No. Let them look at it and come back.
Finally, from me, you talk about the fact that the committee will consider these inputs. At what stage would that be? Because after second reading, we are moving to consideration. That will happen in the committee.
No, consideration state doesn't mean that you don't accept people's comments. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you are only going to consider clause by clause what is there and make amendments. What to inform you to make those amendments? It is the input from everybody, from stakeholders, that will make you make those amendments. So we are still at the consideration stage.
Are you meeting them as a committee?
Well, we have met them. To me, a more powerful source have met them. That is beyond this committee. That is why we are saying that they should take it, go and consider it, and bring in their new groups.
Is consideration going to be suspension? It's going to suspend the consideration stage until we finalize the
Yes, consideration at the plenary is suspended. That is on hold until we receive their inputs on a new bill.
What stopped you from consulting them before receiving your bill? That's where they say they are disappointed in the executive and for that matter, the committee as
Well, I would say that printing of the new bill, delayed. That's what I would say. And so yesterday was just delaying. And after that, we knew we were going to get the new bill and to be given to them because that was a promise from me to them. And I knew I was going to do it before that time. But you see, all the input that they made when we met them here, those of you who were around, we used 1 week from Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. to about 8 p.m. every day to meet them. There were about 26 stakeholders. And they were all making the same input on various provisions. And everything has been considered. Of course, in consultation with the ministry and GTEC, Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. A lot of work has gone into all this. And so to us, we think that, to the committee, we think that we have incorporated all their concerns. If they have any, they should bring them and then we'll consider them.
what timelines are you looking at now in terms of guidance?
Well, we threw this to them this morning, and they are saying that they have to go and consult with their people. So they have to give us their timelines. So as I speak, I don't know when they are going to bring their listen. They promise that by next week Tuesday, they'll give us the time that they'll bring their inputs.
So just to be clear, the majority, Parliament is not in a rush to get this passed.
At all. At all. There is no rush in this. At all.
When you say more powerful source has met them, what do you mean?
Well, let me blunt here. The president is not in the nation. Acting president is the vice president. Vice president is the one who met them. Myself, the vice president, minister, GTEC boss, that is Professor Lassan, and then the representative of academia. We all met this morning, 10 to about 11:30 a.m. So that is it, and that is the instruction from the acting president or the vice president. And so the vice president even wanted to know when they can bring their inputs. And they said they will have to go and consult with their people before giving us time. And so giving us time has been scheduled for Tuesday. So by Tuesday, they should give us time when they can also bring their inputs.
What happens if all these are not able to finish and the bill passes before passing?
I'm saying that the bill will not be passed until we receive their inputs. But what we have is what we have given them. For instance, Minister cited a bill that did not have pages 11 to something. Some of the clauses were even out. And so they were alarmed. They were thinking that that was what we have laid as a second bill. But that is not the case. That's not the case. You know, this is politics. Some people just went ahead, copied some parts of the bill, and added some new things to it, and said it as the bill that we have relayed in Parliament. That is far from the truth. That is not it.
William Kwetu chairs the Parliament Select Committee on Education. Let's go to Joseph Opoku Gakpo right now. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Gifty.
Right. So, what was happening yesterday? Was that a discussion towards consideration or passage of the bill? Help us understand.
So, what was happening yesterday is what we call the second reading of the bill. Now, what happens is when a bill comes to Parliament for approval, it's laid on the floor, and that's described as the first reading of the bill, where the title of the bill is read out by the whoever the representative of the clerk is, and then after that, the minister presenting it bows to the speaker, and then it's assumed that that document has been presented to the House. That's called the first reading of the bill. When that gets done, then the speaker refers the bill to a particular committee. Now, the committee goes to look at it, interrogate it, invite stakeholders for deliberations on it, and the committee then returns days after, weeks after, months after, with a report on the bill, recommending first of all whether the House should approve or not approve the bill. And then additionally, if the committee has recommendations on changes that should be made to the bill, that list of changes are then attached to the report that the committee is bringing. Now, on the day that the committee comes back to the House with its report, that's what we call the second reading of the bill, where the chairman of the committee in question, in this case the Education Committee, goes ahead to read the said report of the committee recommending whether the House should approve or not approve the document, and then list out the changes. And then at that second reading, the House then does a debate on the bill. But that debate is not substantively on the content of the bill. The House then debates the principles as far as the bill is concerned. In this case, we know the fundamental principle has to do with appropriate management of the public universities that we have in the country. Other bills have other issues when it comes to the principles as far as the bill is concerned. Now, after that deliberation and debate on the principles of the bill, which is the second reading, then the discussion on the bill is then suspended, and then the House then comes back to do what is called consideration of the bill. It's at the consideration stage that the recommendations that the committee made in terms of changes to the bill can then be done. That's the stage that they describe as the insert and delete stage, where the specific items are taken out of the bill or introduced into the bill. MPs, apart from the committee's report, can recommend changes to the bill. Usually that's the longest duration in terms of how the bill may drag in the House. Once that is done, usually over some days, then the third reading of the bill can be done, and then you can say that bill has subsequently been passed or approved by the House. As far as the Public Universities Bill is concerned, after it had been laid on the floor of the House and then subsequently deliberated on by the Committee on Education, yesterday they came back to the House to do the second reading when they presented the report in terms of the Education Committee and made recommendations on what changes should be seen. But that final stage, which is consideration where the changes will be made, has actually not come off yet. So we are nowhere close to getting this particular bill approved, and it's that third stage of consideration where Parliament will make changes to the bill that the chairman of the Education Committee, William Kwetu, is now indicating has been suspended until they've gotten the necessary input from the various stakeholders, and then they can then take the bill through the consideration stage where specific propositions of changes to the specific bill will be made, after which there will be the third reading before then it gets passed eventually.
I see. What happened in Parliament today was a briefing from the meeting that was held between the Vice President and the committee. Was this also discussed in Parliament, and how do the members of Parliament take this?
So on the floor of the House itself, this hasn't come up, because after the second reading, where the House discussed the principles of the bill was done, then the next stage will be for the majority leader to then set an appropriate date for the committee of the chairman to then begin moving the various motions to request that the House approves amendments to the bill. So that's usually left at the discretion of leadership in terms of when that should begin. The leadership hasn't indicated that they would want that to begin anytime soon. So on the floor of the House, there was absolutely no conversation at all on this bill. It's as if the processes are continuing, because now what the Speaker is waiting for is for the chairman of the committee to indicate to the majority leader that the House is ready for the consideration, and then in the next few days, in the next few weeks, the House can do that. So until that time gets there, no discussion on the floor itself will begin as far as this bill is concerned. But on the fringes, other MPs have been responding to this said indication that following the meeting earlier today, that third stage in terms of consideration of the bill has been suspended until further notice. For example, Mr. Bernard Ahiafo, who is a legal practitioner and a member of the Education Committee, has been insisting that he thinks even the new bill that the House is dealing with still has fundamental issues that run in contravention to the Constitution of the nation, for which he thinks it will still be inappropriate for the House to go ahead and approve it. And he goes on to make the point that adequate consultation is what they are all for, and so if that's the decision that the chairman of the committee has taken, that following the advice of the vice president, they are pulling brakes on the consideration stage until necessary consultations are done. The minority side are all for that particular further consultation.
Well, Joseph, I'll say a very big thanks. Unless there's anything else that happened in Parliament that we need to be updated on, we'll call it a day.